The 2026 FIFA World Cup Final is weeks away, and the stage is literally the biggest in human history. 3 host nations, a record 48 teams, and a global audience projected to break every broadcast record ever set. Now add 7 Korean men who once performed to 50,000 people in Los Angeles, sold out stadiums on 5 continents, and held the UN General Assembly audience in complete silence. BTS is back, fully reunited after completing South Korea's mandatory military service. And the speculation around what they might perform on that field is not idle fan fantasy. It's a legitimate conversation happening across music industry circles, sports broadcast networks, and entertainment media worldwide. Their 2022 Qatar World Cup performance of Dreamers with Fahad Al-Kubaisi drew over 100 million views in days. That was one song, one artist, one appearance. So here's the question nobody can stop asking. If BTS steps onto that final stage in 2026 with a full set list, which songs do they choose? Which tracks carry the weight, the history, and the sheer sonic scale to match the biggest sporting event on the planet? Number 7. The song that started it all, BTS. There is one song on this entire list that does not need speculation about whether it belongs on a World Cup stage, because it has already been there. Dreamers, released on November 20th, 2022, as part of the official FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 soundtrack, was performed live at the tournament's opening ceremony inside Al Bayt Stadium, a venue built to hold 60,000 people, on the exact same night the world's most watched sporting event kicked off. The performer that night was Jungkook, BTS's youngest member, sharing the stage with Qatari artist Fahad Al-Kubaisi in what FIFA itself framed as a cultural bridge, a South Korean artist and a Gulf artist standing together in front of a global television audience that FIFA reported at over 1.5 billion viewers for the opening day coverage. That number alone deserves to sit in your head for a moment. 1.5 billion. For context, that is roughly 1 in every 5 people alive on Earth at the time. Jungkook was 25 years old, performing solo on behalf of one of the most recognizable music acts in the world, in a country where public concerts had historically faced significant restrictions. The symbolism was not accidental. FIFA does not book opening ceremony acts casually. Every artist, every song, every staging decision goes through months of negotiation, cultural consultation, and broadcast planning. The fact that Jungkook was chosen and that the song he performed was co-written specifically for that moment reflects how deliberately the global sports establishment has positioned BTS as a cultural asset, not simply a music act. Dreamers was co-written by Jungkook alongside producers and songwriters including Savan Kotena, who has writing credits across some of the most commercially successful pop records of the past decade, including work with Ariana Grande, One Direction, and The Weeknd. The song itself sits at the intersection of anthemic stadium pop and intimate emotional sincerity, which is precisely why it worked in that setting. It is not a hard-driving hype track. It is a song about persistence, about people chasing something bigger than themselves across impossible distances. For a World Cup opening ceremony, that thematic alignment is almost too clean. The music video, released simultaneously with the opening ceremony performance, accumulated over 100 million views with a speed that placed it among the fastest-viewed FIFA-affiliated content in the tournament's recorded history. The song charted in multiple countries across Europe, Asia, and North America without a traditional promotional rollout. No radio tour, no late-night television appearances, no physical single campaign. It moved purely on the gravity of the moment and the existing infrastructure of BTS's global fanbase, ARMY, which at that point had an estimated active online community of over 40 million across major social platforms. Now, consider the context of 2026. BTS has completed their mandatory military service obligations. All 7 members are reunited, and the group is re-entering a global music landscape that spent 2 years waiting for them. The 2026 FIFA World Cup Final will be played in one of 3 potential host cities: Los Angeles, New York, New Jersey, or Dallas, all of which are cities where BTS has previously sold out major arenas. The American audience's familiarity with BTS is not a question mark. It is one of the most documented music market phenomena of the 2010s and 2020s. And if a single Jungkook solo performance of Dreamers at the 2022 opening ceremony could generate 1.5 billion impressions in a single broadcast window, the arithmetic of what a fully reunited BTS performing that same song with all 7 members could produce in 2026 is not hard to calculate. Dreamers is also the only song on this list with a direct, established contractual and creative relationship between BTS's management, HYBE, and FIFA's entertainment division. That relationship did not end in Qatar. It was a foundation, and foundations in the entertainment industry are built to be built upon. But if Dreamers is the song that proved BTS belongs on a World Cup stage, the next song on this list is the one that proved BTS could stop an entire music industry in its tracks, and it did exactly that, in a way no Korean act had ever done before. Number 6, the record that rewrote the rules, BTS. On August 21, 2020, BTS released Dynamite, and within 24 hours, the music industry had a new reference point for what a single song could do in the streaming era. The music video accumulated 101.1 million views on YouTube in its first 24 hours, setting a world record at the time for the most viewed YouTube video in a single day. That number was not driven by algorithmic promotion or paid placement. It was driven by a fan base that had been built, community by community, across 7 years of consistent work. The infrastructure ARMY had constructed across Twitter, Weverse, YouTube, and regional fan networks functioned like a coordinated broadcast system, and on August 21, 2020, it demonstrated exactly what that system was capable of. Dynamite was BTS's first song recorded entirely in English. That decision was deliberate and commercially precise. The song was written by British songwriters David Stewart and Jessica Agomber, the same writing partnership behind several major European pop records, and it was pitched to HYB specifically as a vehicle to break BTS into mainstream American radio in a way that Korean-language tracks, regardless of their quality or popularity, had structurally struggled to do. American commercial radio in 2020 remained largely resistant to non-English content. Dynamite was the strategic answer to that structural barrier. It worked. The song debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on the chart dated September 5, 2020, making BTS the first South Korean act in history to debut at the top position of that chart. That is not a regional milestone or a niche achievement. The Billboard Hot 100 is the single most recognized music chart in the world, measuring performance across streaming, radio airplay, and sales data simultaneously. Debuting at number 1 means a song moved more combined units in its first tracking week than every other song released in the American market that week. In the week Dynamite debuted, it outsold and outstreamed every other track across the entire United States music market. The song went on to earn BTS their first Grammy nomination at the 63rd Annual Grammy Awards in the category of Best Pop Duo or Group Performance, the first time a South Korean act had ever received a nomination in a competitive Grammy category. They performed the song live from Seoul during the Grammy broadcast, which aired in the United States on March 14, 2021. The performance, staged across multiple locations in the city simultaneously, was noted by broadcast industry observers as one of the more technically ambitious remote performances in Grammy telecast history. Dynamite was also certified 6 times platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, certified platinum in the United Kingdom by the BPI, and charted in multiple European markets simultaneously, markets where BTS had historically had strong streaming numbers but less consistent chart penetration at the singles level. The song essentially functioned as a commercial key, unlocking radio formats and chart categories that had remained structurally closed to Korean-language music, regardless of streaming performance. From a live performance standpoint, Dynamite is among the most stage-tested songs in BTS's catalog. They have performed it at the Billboard Music Awards, the American Music Awards, the MTV Video Music Awards, the Grammy stage, and across multiple stadium tours. The choreography is polished to a level that reads clearly in wide-angle broadcast shots, which matters enormously in a stadium performance environment, where the majority of the audience is watching on screens rather than from the floor. The song's tempo, structure, and key signature all sit in a range that projects well over large PA systems without losing clarity. For a World Cup final performance, Dynamite offers something specific that very few songs in BTS's catalog can match. It is a song that the non-ARMY audience already knows. Casual listeners, people who do not follow K-pop, people who heard it in a grocery store or a television commercial or a sporting event highlight reel, they recognize it. In a stadium holding 80,000 people from dozens of countries, that recognition factor is not a small thing. But Dynamite established that BTS could compete at the top of the American market. The next song on this list proved something more difficult, that they could carry an entire stadium on pure performance energy alone without a word of English required. Number 5. The stadium song built for exactly this moment, BTS. When Map of the Soul 7 arrived on February 21, 2020, it did not trickle into the cultural conversation. It landed. The album sold approximately 4.02 million copies in its first month of release, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, BTS's 4th consecutive number 1 album on that chart, and charted at the top position in South Korea, the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and across most of Europe simultaneously. But the song that defined the album's live identity was not its lead single in the traditional sense. It was On, a track built from the ground up with the architecture of a stadium anthem, heavy percussion, brass instrumentation, a marching band structure underneath the production, and a melodic line that rises in layers the way a crowd rises when something enormous is happening in front of them. On debuted at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the week of its release, making it at the time the highest-charting Korean-language song in the history of that chart. The song is performed almost entirely in Korean. It did not need English to break into the top 5 of the most competitive singles chart on the planet. It got there through sheer commercial force and the gravitational pull of a fan base that had spent years learning how to mobilize streaming, download, and sales data with coordinated precision. The chart position was independently verified by Billboard's tracking systems, which aggregate data from Nielsen Music across streaming platforms, digital download stores, and brick-and-mortar sales simultaneously. On the same day the album dropped, BTS staged a live performance of On inside Grand Central Terminal in New York City, one of the most recognizable public spaces in the United States, a building that processes approximately 750,000 people on an average weekday. The performance was announced with minimal lead time, creating a crowd of fans and bystanders that observers on the ground estimated in the thousands. The footage circulated across social media within hours and became one of the most discussed music performance clips of early 2020, before the global disruption of that year halted live events entirely. The visual language of On is inseparable from its identity as a performance piece. The official Kinetic Manifesto film, released as a companion to the standard music video, featured dozens of backup performers, elaborate outdoor staging, and choreography designed to function at scale. It was not a video treatment built for a phone screen. It was built for a wide shot, for the kind of aerial camera perspective you see at stadium concerts and large-format live events. The marching percussion elements in the production translate directly to a live setting in a way that synthesizer-heavy pop production frequently does not. The physicality of the sound works with a live crowd rather than against it. From a sonic standpoint, On does something specific that few BTS tracks replicate. It builds. The song's structure is cumulative, adding instrumental layers and performance intensity across its runtime in a way that mirrors the emotional arc of a sporting event. A crowd that is already primed by the adrenaline of a World Cup final, 80,000 people inside a stadium, with hundreds of millions watching at home, does not need a fast-tempo hype track to stay engaged. It needs something that meets the energy already in the room and then lifts it. On is engineered to do exactly that. The song also carries a specific thematic resonance that aligns naturally with the World Cup context. Its Korean lyrics address perseverance under pressure, moving forward regardless of the weight of expectation, and refusing to be defined by the obstacles placed in front of you. BTS composed this material at a point in their career when external pressure from media criticism, industry skepticism, and the sheer scale of what they had already built was at its highest sustained level. The emotional source material is real, and it reads through the performance. If On is the song that proved a Korean language track could function at the top of American charts without translation, the next song on this list is the one that proved BTS could make a room full of strangers feel like they already knew every word. And it happened in a language most of that room had never studied. Number 4. The global celebration of culture, BTS. When BTS released Idol on August 24, 2018 as the lead single of their compilation album Love Yourself, Answer, they did something that defied standard industry logic for acts attempting to cross over into Western markets. Instead of diluting their heritage to fit global pop templates, they leaned entirely into it. The track is a frantic, high-energy fusion of South African gam beats, a style of house music originating from Durban, and traditional Korean cultural elements known as gugak. Listeners are hit with rhythms derived from samul nori, a genre of Korean percussion, alongside traditional vocal exclamations like olsu and jiwada, which are historically used in pansori storytelling to build energy and prompt crowd response. The sonic result was a massive global hit that did not compromise its cultural specificity. It debuted at number 11 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and reached number 21 on the UK Singles Chart, while the video generated 56.2 million views within its first 24 hours, setting a new record at the time on YouTube. What makes Idol an essential candidate for a World Cup final performance is this exact intersection of global scale and national pride. The World Cup is fundamentally a celebration of national identity on a global stage, and Idol is BTS's definitive statement on their own identity. The cultural weight of the song was cemented during the 2018 Melon Music Awards, where the group delivered a legendary performance that incorporated traditional Korean artists, including samul nori percussionists, talchum lion dancers, and a massive buchechum fan dance segment. This performance did not just entertain, it served as an educational showcase of Korean art to a global audience of millions who had likely never seen these forms before. In October 2020, the song's cultural resonance was elevated further when BTS performed Idol on The Tonight Show starring Film from Gunjangjeon Hall at Gyeongbokgung Palace in Seoul. Gunjangjeon Hall is the main hall of the royal palace where the kings of the Joseon dynasty once held official audiences and state affairs. It is classified as South Korea's national treasure number 223. To have a pop group perform there was an unprecedented event, demonstrating how deeply the South Korean government recognizes the group as cultural ambassadors. The visual of the members performing in modernized hanbok, traditional Korean clothing, in front of a centuries-old royal palace broadcasted to millions worldwide established a powerful precedent. Performing Idol at a World Cup final would bring this cultural statement to its ultimate conclusion. The instrumentation is naturally suited for a massive stadium, where the heavy, thumping brass and traditional percussion beats can reverberate through the concrete and steel. The call and response structure of the chorus, anchored by those traditional pansori cheers, is designed to be shouted back by tens of thousands of people, regardless of whether they speak Korean or understand the cultural context of the words. It is a song that commands movement and demands attention, turning any venue into a celebration. In the context of a sporting event where athletes represent their countries with absolute dedication, a performance of Idol by BTS would be a parallel celebration of cultural heritage and global unity. The energy is intense, the choreography is physically demanding, and the message is one of unyielding self-acceptance and pride. As the ultimate bridge between traditional Korean art and global pop culture, Idol stands as a monumental achievement in their discography. But it is not the only track that shows their ability to command a massive, chanting crowd. In fact, the next song on our list takes that stadium-sized energy and strips away all the colorful celebration, replacing it with a raw, aggressive statement of defiance that proved BTS could dominate the global stage on their uncompromising terms. Number 3. The Trap Anthem of Defiance, BTS. When the Steve Aoki remix of Mic Drop was released on November 24, 2017, it did not just mark another collaboration, it established a historic precedent for South Korean artists in the global music industry. The track, which originally appeared on BTS's EP Love Yourself Her, was reimagined with heavy electronic and trap production by Aoki, alongside English-language verses to maximize its international appeal. The strategic adjustment succeeded immediately. Mic Drop debuted at number 28 on the US Billboard Hot 100, making BTS the first Korean group to achieve a top 40 single on the chart. It remained on the Hot 100 for 10 consecutive weeks, proving that the initial surge was not a temporary spike, but a sustained listener interest. In February 2018, the song was certified gold by the Recording Industry Association of America, and it was subsequently certified platinum, marking the first time a Korean group had ever achieved these certification thresholds in the United States. This success laid the commercial foundation for their subsequent stadium tours, where Mic Drop became the definitive closing number or high point encore, demonstrating that hip-hop roots could translate into massive global ticket sales. The physical and emotional weight of Mic Drop is entirely rooted in its live performance history. The choreography, designed by longtime collaborator Son Song-duk, is regarded by dance professionals and fans alike as one of the most physically demanding and visually aggressive routines in modern pop music. The performance style is a direct callback to old-school hip-hop, characterized by heavy, synchronized movements that require absolute breath control and stamina. This was demonstrated to a massive mainstream Western audience on April 13, 2019, when BTS appeared as the musical guest on Saturday Night Live. Performing Mic Drop with a live band, the group delivered a performance so physically intense that it became a defining moment of their crossover era, earning praise from media outlets that had previously dismissed them as a manufactured pop act. The sheer attitude of the song is what makes it a prime choice for the high-stakes environment of a World Cup final. Written as a response to their critics and detractors, the lyrics boast of their trophies, their global success, and their undeniable impact on the industry. In a stadium setting, this message of victory and dominance translates perfectly to the competitive spirit of sports. The song does not ask for the audience's approval, it commands it. Sonically, Steve Aoki's production is built around a massive, driving bass line and sharp synthesizer stabs that are engineered to shake the foundations of large arenas. The transition from the verses to the drop is a masterclass in building tension and releasing it, a musical dynamic that mirrors the climactic moments of a football match. The final gesture of the choreography, where the leader of the group, RM, literally drops his microphone and turns his back to the audience, is one of the most iconic visual punctuation marks in modern live music. At a World Cup final, where the eyes of the entire world are fixed on a single field, ending a performance with that level of absolute confidence would leave an indelible impression. It is a track that turns any stage into a battlefield and leaves no doubt about who conquered it. Yet, while Mic Drop represents the peak of their aggressive hip-hop identity, BTS is a group of diverse sonic landscapes, and the next song on our list represents a complete shift in tone, moving from the defiance of the underground to a global pop anthem that became their most successful chart topper, uniting listeners in a wave of bright, celebratory energy. Number 2. The summer groove that swept the charts. BTS. When BTS released Butter on May 21, 2021, they were not just releasing a follow-up English single, they were aiming to solidify their dominant position in the global pop mainstream. The track, a sleek dance pop number with a heavy retro synth bassline, was co-written by a team that included RM alongside international hitmakers Stephen Kirk, Ron Perry, and Jenna Andrews. The impact of the release was immediate and record-breaking. Within its first 24 hours, the music video accumulated 108.2 million views on YouTube, breaking the all-time 24-hour debut record previously held by their own song, Dynamite. On Spotify, the song registered 11.04 million filtered global streams on its opening day, setting a new Guinness World Record for the most streamed track on Spotify in its first 24 hours. The song debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on the chart dated June 5, 2021, and went on to spend a total of 10 non-consecutive weeks at the top spot, making it the longest-running number 1 hit of 2021. This level of commercial longevity proved that BTS had moved beyond the status of a fan-driven phenomenon to become a permanent fixture of the global music landscape. This point was further highlighted when Butter was replaced at the number 1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100 by their own next single, Permission to Dance, making them the first act since Drake in 2018 to replace themselves at the top of the chart. In addition, the song earned BTS another nomination for Best Pop Duo/Group Performance at the 64th Annual Grammy Awards at April 3, 2022, marking their second consecutive year in that category. It also achieved double platinum status in the United States, selling over 2 million units in a matter of months, and went on to top the charts in Singapore, Malaysia, and Japan, cementing its status as a multi-regional juggernaut. For a World Cup final performance, Butter offers an unmatched combination of smooth sophistication and high-energy appeal. The song's structure is built on a groove that is instantly accessible, making it impossible not to move to, which is a critical quality for a stadium-sized audience. The vocal delivery is playful and charismatic, showcasing the members' versatility and performance chemistry. This chemistry was famously highlighted during the 64th Annual Grammy Awards on April 3, 2022, where BTS performed a custom spy-themed heist version of Butter at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. The performance, which featured a complex laser-dodging dance sequence and a surprise cameo interaction with Olivia Rodrigo, was widely cited by major entertainment publications like Billboard and Rolling Stone as the standout performance of the telecast. It demonstrated their ability to inject theatricality and narrative into a live set without missing a single beat of their choreography. In a sports stadium setting, where the visual scale is massive and the distance between the stage and the audience is significant, this level of precise visual performance is crucial. The choreography for Butter is famous for its clean lines, sharp hand gestures, and smooth footwork, which translate exceptionally well to camera work and big-screen broadcasts. The song's bridge, featuring a rapid-fire rap exchange between the group's rappers, adds a layer of intensity that breaks up the pop sweetness and keeps the energy dynamic. The sheer confidence of the track, with its lyrics celebrating self-assured charm and effortless charisma, mirrors the peak physical performance of elite athletes on the pitch. Performing Butter at the World Cup Final would provide a moment of pure, uplifting entertainment, a bright and glossy contrast to the tension of the match itself. It is a song designed to make people feel good, to celebrate the joy of the moment, and to unite a diverse global crowd under a single, irresistible rhythm. Yet, as powerful as this global pop smash is, the ultimate choice for a World Cup performance must go to a song that carries the deepest emotional weight of their entire journey. A track that represents not just their success, but their resilience and their promise for the future. Number 1, the anthem of promise and return, BTS. When BTS released Yet to Come, The Most Beautiful Moment, on June 10, 2022, as the lead single from their anthology album, Proof, it served as a profound artistic checkpoint. The song, a mid-tempo alternative hip-hop track built on a soul-sampled loop, was co-written by RM, Suga, J-Hope, and longtime producers P-Dog and Max. Rather than chasing the high-tempo dance beats of their previous English releases, the group chose a reflective, nostalgic sound to mark the end of their first chapter before entering their mandatory military enlistment. The track debuted at number 13 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and reached the top position on the Billboard Global Exclusive US chart, showing that their global audience was fully invested in their narrative, not just their upbeat pop releases. This checkpoint was underscored by the album's remarkable commercial performance. Proof sold over 2.75 million copies on its first day of release alone, making it one of the fastest-selling albums in South Korean music history, and went on to debut at number 1 on the Billboard 200, securing the group's 6th chart-topping album. Furthermore, the members' enlistment was a major national and global talking point, discussed by defense ministries, global media networks, and cultural analysts alike, because it marked the temporary pause of a cultural force that contributes over $5 billion annually to the South Korean economy. The return of all 7 members, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, RM, Jimin, V, and Jungkook, is therefore not just a pop music reunion, it is a major geopolitical and cultural event. What makes Yet to Come the absolute top contender for a 2026 World Cup final performance is its direct historical connection to the tournament and its unparalleled emotional resonance. In September 2022, in collaboration with Hyundai's Goal of the Century campaign, BTS released a specially adapted British rock remix version of the song for the FIFA World Cup 2022. This version featured altered English lyrics that focused on global unity, sustainability, and the shared dream of a better future, accompanied by a stadium-ready arrangement of driving drums and electric guitars. The official video for this version featured diverse crowds around the world singing along, bridging the gap between global pop music and the universal spirit of sport. performing this song at the 2026 World Cup Final, the very stage where they will declare their full post-service reunion to the entire planet, would carry an immense emotional weight that no other track could replicate. The core message of the song, that the best moment of their lives is yet to come, is a powerful statement of resilience and future promise. It applies not only to the group's journey, but also to the narrative of the World Cup itself, where teams fight through years of qualifiers for a single shot at glory, only to look forward to the next tournament. The song's instrumentation, particularly the soaring stadium rock elements of the World Cup remix, is designed to fill large spaces with a warm, triumphant sound. In a live setting, the gentle hip-hop groove in the verses allows the group's vocalists and rappers to connect directly with the audience, while the anthemic chorus rises to a climax that is both emotional and uplifting. Ending a historic World Cup final performance with Yet to Come would leave the audience with a sense of hope and anticipation, a feeling that the celebration does not end when the final whistle blows. It is the ultimate statement of longevity, a promise to their fans and the world that their journey is far from over. After years of speculation, waiting, and milestones, the stage is set. The world is watching, and only one question remains. When the lights dim on the biggest field in the world, which song will be the first one to ring out and write the next chapter of history?